There are some fans well, the next movies are always the better ones. The sequels are always supposed to be better or at least decent. But there are some franchises that are cursed with having sequels that are constantly getting worse and worse as time goes on. Today we're talking about the third Predator film, Predators. Yes, this movie was just kind of just boring per se. It was not really a good Predator. The first Predator movie was amazing. The second one was decent to good. But this movie was just outright just why? It was kind of a reboot to the Predator, since there hasn't been a Predator movie that is not a crossover that had a standalone Predator movie since 1990. 2010 was a pretty interesting year for movies. We had some movies that we had Toy Story 3, and some other movies like Inception and some other great movies of that year. But then we had Predators, the reboot to Predator that nobody wanted. This basically is the entire plot is basically is just a guy finds himself in a jungle with where he meets other people from Mexico and in other parts of the world, and they discover that they're all armed and lethal killers, and with no explanation how they got there. And Isabel, who is a soldier arriving on higher ground, they find themselves in an alien sky and realize they're not on Earth and they're on a jungle with poisonous stuff and traps and everything, and a dead person. The party is attacked by a bunch of dog things and they are on a game preserve, and humans are hunted at the game, and other creatures presumably as well. One of the guys is killed, and the predator they find and they lure him to a trap, which they avoid, and then they find a captive predator, and then the Mombasa is killed, the one guy that nobody cares about. Most of the people, like in the difference between this film and the other film, most of the people besides the guy who survived in the first movie are kind of just all there. The all there to serve as supporting roles and it'll be all forgettable. This is this movie's problem. It doesn't really have a concrete storyline. It doesn't really have that much of a storyline. The first film didn't have that much of a storyline, but it was kind of was kind of the same thing, but it was them fighting an unknown threat, and they have to fight this unknown creature who has been attacking other people for a period of time. But then they have this movie, which is basically just, eh. And then they meet another guy, a soldier who has been surviving for the 10 seasons by hiding from the predator and the victims. At his hideout, he explains that the predator hunts and flees and softens their kills by killing other beasts and other animals. And there's a blood feud between the larger and smaller ones. Roy devises a plan, hoping they can free a smaller predator being held in prison, and may take him to home using one of the predator's spaceship. When they go sleep, there's Norman traps them in a room and attempts to use smoke to suffocate them. Having got mad, he plans to kill him for equipment and supplies. The other guy uses a explosive to break out, attracting the predators to the hideout. A guy tries to escape and is killed by the predator. Ensuing a chase, the guy uses mines to kill the tracker, sacrificing himself. As the remaining group flees, they are intercepted by another predator who attacks them with something and buying time for the others, and Berserker kills him as well, and they flee for more and more, and they fight again. Everybody just dies. This is the problem with this movie. There's not really many character development in this movie. Like, well, some movies you have to watch multiple times to know their names, but this movie is just boring characters. So they all escape. They all find the ways to get the predator ship, and then predators get them off the ship, and they are trapped on the planet, and they kill the predator, and then they find a way. They must find another way to get off the planet This movie is not a good movie. I give this movie a 4 out of 10. It is not a good movie. It's basically attempt to remake the first movie, but in a different setting. It's not really and instead they're just running away from the predator, not even like. And if they fought together, they will beat the predators, but they didn't do that at all. What first made the first film so great is that it was the sense of unknown. Like we already know what the predators are in this film. They already know how to beat them, but they're too cowardly to actually beat them, and that is the main problem of this movie. Is there isn't really that much. It's still better than the new one, but it's just honestly surprising that the Predator movies keep getting worse and worse and worse over time. The first movie, it's like the Terminator franchise. Ever since number 2, the movies just get worse and worse over time. It's just why? Why do we keep making these movies? Same thing with Alien. In the 90s, there was Alien, first two good movies, masterpieces, and then Alien 3 Y, and then Alien Resurrection Y. This movie was simply made because Hollywood wanted to bring back an old IP that didn't need a sequel and didn't need a reboot either in 2018. Overall, The Predators is a 4 out of 10. If you like the Predator movies, if you want to know more about the Predator War and how it is, you can watch this movie, but it isn't really a good one. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe for more movie reviews. And the next movie we'll be talking about is Super Troopers. And this next review will definitely be way more positive than this one. Goodbye.